Hello there, it's Tom here, and this is Gunnerkrigg Court Chapter 50, Totem, and Magnolia is here again to help me through the chapter.
Hello there.
So this chapter is the start of the 6th book, and it begins with Annie and Coyote in the forest after the summer holidays passed and they're sort of catching up as to what she has done over the holiday. And I love drawing these kind of pages, the full-on Coyote ether pages, where I get to fill the whole page entirely with Annie's hair and abstract shapes of Coyote. And I really enjoyed here just showing Annie fully in her element and kind of just being able to chat with Coyote normally and showing that she's become experienced in talking with him and dismissing his little barbs and joking along with him.
I noticed that Coyote mentions that Cat's never gone to see him, and it's kind of interesting how they're both very important characters, but so far they have never met even one time.
Yeah, that's right, and it wouldn't have been logistically reasonable for Cat to come into the forest at this point because the forest really is still designated dangerous territory by the court, so Cat wouldn't even really be able to get permission to come across to see him, but that's been a very intentional thing. But the reason that Annie is here in the forest is because she's making good on her promise that she gave to the green-haired fairy and the little jackalope a couple of chapters ago, and she's come to collect the soul of the jackalope to bring to the court in order to start the proceedings to give her a new body. And in the meantime, this gives Coyote an opportunity to editorialize a little bit about the nature of humanity and his observations of kind of the cruelness of humans and the irresponsibility of humans, and the great delight that he takes in observing all this. And it's also a chance for him to do what he loves best, which is basically humbly bragging about how amazing he is. And I love just drawing the fluid nature of Coyote here, changing him into no defined form, and having his creepy wooden finger hands come in at the side of the panels, and him showing up as a skull sometimes with his teeth floating around. That really is the best part of drawing Coyote for me.
I just want to say real quick that I'm glad that Annie sticks up for humanity, because in science fiction and fantasy stories where they're always talking about how bad humanity is, I both think it's kind of self-deprecating and kind of self-absorbed to assume that humanity must be the worst of any possible sentient creature.
Yeah, and that really is Annie's point in scenes like this. As she is the medium anyway, she really is a counterpoint to a lot of what Coyote says. And in this position, she knows that the rabbit wants to come and be a human, so she's not going to let Coyote just talk about how evil humans are. But I guess I should add that I was very careful to make sure that when Coyote is talking about the cruelty or the irresponsibility of humans, that he is not really passing a value judgment here. He loves this stuff. He thinks that it's great that humans are capable of this kind of thing, and it brings him great joy to keep track of humans and the stuff that they do. So he's not even saying that humans are evil or bad, but Annie certainly does feel that she has to kind of stick up for her side. We also get a bit of extra information about the fairies that become humans and how they are sort of unique to the regular fairies from the forest. And Coyote talks about how they are sort of a special case.
So this page implies that the court was somehow involved with the creation of these fairies, which you wouldn't expect since they're fairies.
Yeah, that's right. And I wanted to show that these hollow fairies are kind of the result of a negotiation between the court and Coyote himself to create a sort of creature that will fulfill the agreement that they have to make up some of the numbers for the creatures passing to and from the forest. And with that business over, Annie is given the essence of the rabbit and heads back into the court while Coyote deals with the body of the rabbit. And she meets up with Andrew, and they also catch up on what they've been up to over the summer holiday, dropping a little bit of information about how Parley is only really able to teleport over a certain distance. And in these scenes I do what I normally do by visually indicating the change of scene and setting by adjusting the colours in the background. When Annie passes the bridge from the forest, I start to desaturate the colours, and as they're walking through the court, the background's all purple. And once they head to this transfer chamber, I change the background to green, just to show that they're sort of in a mid area where it's not quite the green of the forest and not quite the purple of the court. And I wanted it to be some sort of mid ground where sort of this non-scientific ritual process is taking place.
This is a fun character design.
I like this character a lot because they're very clearly alien in design, and I wanted them to seem very much at home in this sort of hothouse environment, almost like a lizard would be, which is why they have very lizard-like features. But I did want to expressly mention at the end that they were human. But before that, I wanted to give the impression that this is someone who spends a lot of time with all this technology and is very used to the process here, referring to the children as a batch of units, really, to be harvested for the new school year.
So back in Tall Tales, it had been mentioned that the animals become male, and here I guess we're finding out that it's because the court is demanding a certain percentage of students.
That's right, and I included this panel because I wanted to show that the 50-50 split was a hardline number that the court has come to. And they probably came to this number on the assumption that having a split between male and female exactly at 50 and 50 being fair. But that does create an artificial division that will exclude some people and take away the choices of others in order of keeping things evenly balanced. So Annie hands over the spirit of the jackalope, and that's really all they can do at this point.
I noticed that you stay very vague about what exactly the ritual is and whether it's magic or not.
That's right, and that's intentional because it is, at this point, it is completely irrelevant as to what the ritual is. So the only information that we as the readers need to know is that a ritual does take place. I just felt it was a detail that wouldn't really have added anything to the comic.
Although I wonder if there is any magical element in it, then the court is a little bit hypocritical in saying that, technology and magic can't be joined in any way.
Well, sure, yeah. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't take the advantages of it.
Oh, I see.
And they go their separate ways, and this is where Annie heads off to her new dorms.
So you told me a long time ago that you had planned to eventually have Annie and Kat move into a dorm based on the Friends apartment, and I didn't know if you were joking or not, and I'm very glad that you weren't joking.
Yeah, I was absolutely serious when it came to this. The new dorms are very directly based on Monica and Rachel's apartment in the hit TV show Friends.
But I don't want to gloss over this bit, which is very awkward and funny.
Yeah, Annie walks in on Kat and Path having just returned from summer. And I almost did this in a way to show that Annie's a little bit more socially aware. She comes in and it's very clear she's about to get something to drink or she makes something to eat. But the first thing she does when she realizes that Kat's girlfriend has turned up is she excuses herself from the room. And she heads over to check on Renard, who has got the short end of the straw in this case, when it comes to apartments.
Did you worry at all about this being an inaccessible reference in any way?
Not really, because this was kind of intended to be a very obvious and very clumsy reference to something that either an administrator at the court or one of the robots themselves had felt that it was appropriate to basically find the box set of Friends and then use that as direct reference in order to make a comfortable living environment for the students, whether or not anybody was even aware of the reference that they were making. I think Friends, though, is probably well known enough that it would have to be a long time before anybody would not really understand what the reference is from. And that's the end of that short chapter. So come back again for chapter 51, The Tree.
Bye.